Hello guys, welcome to the channel. Today I have a couple stories for you guys. These are stories of people who disappear and no one knows what happened to them. And we have Ruby here in the room. I will be styling her hair at the same time, and let's remember to remain respectful. These are people who have loved ones out there. And so yeah, let's get started now with the first story. Okay guys, getting started with the first story here. Here we have George Benka. He disappeared on June 2011. So he was only 30 years old when he disappeared, you guys. So this happened at Yosemite National Park, you guys. But he was not hiking or exploring the area alone. He actually went there with a church group, and sometime during that hike, you guys, he mysteriously disappeared, you guys. So George is there, with the group, and apparently it appears from what I read is that on the way down, everyone was kind of going at their own pace. And so, when they got to the bottom, they realized, like, where's George, and he was missing, And eventually, an operation was launched, to find him, and sorry, I'm trying to grab my clips over here, but Ruby is taking good care of them. But so, there's helicopters involved, there's dogs, there's, the ground crew. They're all looking for him, right? And they don't find him, you guys. There's no trace of George. And so, like I said, this happened back in 2011, you guys. Like, he was hiking with other people, and sometime after that, during the hike, he disappeared, you guys. So we don't know what happened to him, there was a search for him, but he was never found. Boom. So yes, guys, it's been a couple years now, and there's still no answers. But this is the first story of George, who disappeared at Yosemite National Park. Now let's go on to the second story. Alrighty, guys, for the second story here, we have Daniel Gallardo, 19 years old at the time when he disappeared. And he was driving, you guys, from Reno, Nevada to Truckee, California in his Nissan Altima, you guys. Not only that, but he was also supposed to start his new job that same day. Like, he was on his way to his new job, and I don't know what happened, but at some point, you guys, he disappeared. I know he went to like a gas station. I believe he was also on the phone with his girlfriend, and I don't know at what point, but he disappeared, and sometime later, I believe it was months later, his Nissan Altima was found, you guys. So it was found north of Truckee, California. His vehicle was abandoned in a wooded area, you guys, but there was no trace of Daniel. And I mean, it's been what, 10 years? And so it's been a long time, and it's so strange. Like, he disappears, then his vehicle is found months later. Now, I have no idea how long that vehicle's been there for, but put this hair down. But yeah, his car was found, and there was no trace of him. And after all this time, you guys, we still have no answers. Where is Daniel? This young man, only 19, I'm sure he was excited to start his new job, and unfortunately, he never made it to his new job. And so, but yes, this is the second story. I was going to say first. This is the second story of Daniel Gallardo, 19 years old, who disappeared, you guys, on his way to his new job. And so let's go to the third story. So for the third story here, we have Karen Wells, 23 years old at the time when she disappeared. So this happened back in 1994. So back in 1994, you guys, she was on her way to New Jersey. She was driving from Oklahoma to New Jersey to visit a friend. And she stopped at a motel in Pennsylvania. And when she stopped there, she got a room and everything. And then she went to the front desk and she asked for directions to the nearest McDonald's. So the last time she was seen was when she was seen driving away from the motel in her rental car. So she had a rental car, and she was on her way to the McDonald's, but she was never seen again. The next day, her vehicle, her rental car, you guys, was found. It was found a couple miles from the motel. And here's the weird part about it. Her vehicle was found, right? There was no sign of Karen, but the vehicle, you guys, the driver and the passenger side doors were wide open. The car was out of gas. And here's the thing, the hazard lights were switched on and the battery was dead. So I'm guessing at some point the lights were on, but because the car's battery died, they were off. But yeah, out of gas, and now the doors are wide open. That is so strange, and there's no, like, where's Karen, So she disappeared. Ever since then, she has not been seen, you guys. And this was back in 1994. So, like I said, the vehicle was found, but Karen till this day has not been found, you guys. Definitely very strange, you guys, but this is the third story. Let's move on to the fourth story. For the final story, you guys, we have Maria Serrano. Maria Serrano was 28 years old at the time when this happened. And this happened in Half Moon Bay, California, 1998. So in Half Moon Bay, California, Maria worked as a housekeeper, and she lived with a roommate. And she told the roommate that she was, on her way to work, and something happened because she never made it to her job, you guys. So she was walking there, and between her home and the job, something happened because she disappeared and she was never seen again, you guys. And like I said, this happened in October of 1998. So this is Halloween season. This is like, pumpkin season, and Half Moon Bay, at the time they were having like a festival going on, and this attracts, people from out of town, So I just want to mention that because I read about that. I also read that she had 2 young children at the time. The children did not live with her. They were in her country, but she did talk to them often. She talked to them, to her family, She would send money. Her children are now adults. Maria heads to work and she is never seen again, you guys. And so she was described as a reserved, quiet woman. Definitely hardworking, good mother, and there's just no answers, And so it's been a long time, but these are the 4 stories that I have for you today. I'm going to quickly go over them. So we have George Benka, who disappeared at Yosemite National Park while on a hike with a church group, and he was never seen again. And this was back in 2011. So the second story, we have Daniel Gallardo, who disappeared on his way to his new job. He never made it to the new job. Daniel was never seen again, but his vehicle was found months later. For the third story, we have Karen Wells, who disappeared in 1994. She was only 23 years old, you guys. She was on her way to New Jersey. She stopped at a motel in Pennsylvania. She was last seen leaving to a McDonald's in her rental vehicle, but she was never seen again. The car was found abandoned, and that's the last time anyone saw her when she was on her way to, or leaving that motel, you know. And then for the final story, you guys, we have Maria Serrano, a hardworking woman who disappeared in Half Moon Bay, California, back in 1998. She was on her way to work, and she disappeared, you know. And so these are the 4 stories that I have for you today. I hope that me talking about them gets the word out there. These are stories personally that I have never heard about. And so when I do my research, you know, I find stories to share here on my channel, but I've never heard of any of these stories before. So I do think it's important to talk about them and to get the word out there. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.